Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shanna, and I am joined by Ed today.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right,
Welcome.
and yeah, welcome. And we also have a couple of other trainers on the line. We have Jason and Eloise. They'll be hanging out and helping us out today too. Today is August 15th, 2017. So close to the beginning of school, and some of you it might have even started. We're so glad you've joined us this afternoon for the unveiling of the evaluation process. We're so excited.
Super
I know
excited.
Ed is too. So,
Oh yeah, sorry. Yep, my turn.
yep.
Today we're going to talk about evaluation process. We had a big update go out last night. We're super excited about this. We had a lot of testing go in to make sure that this update would work. We're going to talk a little bit also about management of evaluation process, something that we've done in other webinars, but we're going to revisit that. But we're going to start with what it looks like on the user's end, that is for the appraisers and the appraisees. And we're going to talk a little bit about how, because of the way evaluation process works, you have a lot more freedom and flexibility and how you set up the things being done related to appraising in Strive. We are going to only focus on evaluation process in this webinar. Now I say that, but it's very easy to distract us. Our goal is to only focus on evaluation process, just like we've done in our other Strive specific webinars. Just pick one thing and kind of talk about it. Normally these are 30-minute webinars, but because this is a big topic and because it just came out, we may go a little later than 30 minutes, and that's okay. We are recording, and so if you're not able to stay for the whole webinar, you can come back and watch the recording later. If you have any questions throughout the entire webinar, please feel free to put them into the chat, into the question section. Anything not related to evaluation process, we will probably not answer here, but we might contact you about it. You can also contact us at training@eduphoria.net for your questions related to Strive. Any questions that you have, training@eduphoria.net. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Shanna.
So I just wanted to kind of do a quick overview. I know we've been talking about evaluation process a lot, and we've had a couple of webinars, and we've shared how to manage. We've had a lot of discussions. So I just wanted to kind of review some of that. What evaluation process means to us at Eduphoria. One of the things that we have addressed is the issue that now, because of the new evaluation system has so many different moving parts, we wanted to give you guys an opportunity or a way to create a process that goes along with each specific maybe person that you're evaluating. So we've encouraged you in the past to come up with your steps in each of those processes. You might have a brand new teacher to the process, and you want them to be in the entire. You want them to go through every single step. You may have a waiver teacher that has proved that they have accomplished certain skills. So you may want to just have a kind of a simple process for them. You also have other people. You have your principals, so you can create a process for your TPES principals. You can even do a separate one for your assistant principals. And then moving forward, you have the ability to do librarians or technology staff. So again, our idea is to give you the ability to create these appraisee types and associate all of those documents that go along with those appraisee types, and then put it in a plan of steps so you can actually see the process play out. And not only the principal or the appraiser can see it, the teacher or staff member can also see it from the other side. So speaking of appraisee types, just a note that any appraisee type that you've created in the past in Appraise, they're all still there. Remember, Strive is just a new interface for Appraise. So all of that is still existing. And the one thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to go in and edit those and include that new evaluation process. So like those steps. So Ed's going to take you and show you now kind of what that looks like as it plays out in our new evaluation process.
Yes. So what I have here is I'm logged in as an administrator with the ability to evaluate on my demo campus, Adams Middle School, and I'm showing you the My Appraisees perspective, and I have 3 teachers that I'm set to appraise. Okay. In other webinars and in help topics, you can see how you select different people for different evaluation or appraisee types. But these folks have 3 different appraisee types. One of them is T-test teacher, default from appraise. One of them is T-test teacher, and we made this a waiver year teacher who doesn't have the full observation step. And then we have a T-test teacher full, which is going to be our example of what you can kind of do to open up these steps and tasks to kind of explore different options. Okay, so as the admin, I'm going to click on teacher 1. This teacher is set to a default from appraisee type. That is what it looks like if you have not managed anything. You just took the appraise data migration and you're using it in Strive. And you'll notice that this person has a default step and a default task. There's also a section called other documents that we'll address in a little bit, but default step and default task is what, if you haven't gone in and managed anything, every single appraisee type in your system shows. Okay. Now, associated with default task, I've got a little plus here. Now remember, I'm the appraiser. When I click on this plus, I have all of the documents that are attached to this particular appraisee type that I can create. So this person has a pre-conference, a post-conference, a summative, an observation, various walkthrough forms, all associated to this one appraisee type. And these were the exact same forms that were attached to this appraisee type when you used it in appraise last year. Okay,
Ed,
yes,
I
ma'am.
want to jump in there. But we had this discussion of whether those would show. Those drop downs don't actually show. So when you're
Okay,
showing that list, so
I can show you. Let me do. This is going to be a little bit. Is that resolution okay?
Yeah, that seems good.
Okay, so when I click the plus, it brings up this menu.
Nope.
And when I click on the, nope, you still don't see it?
Oh, there it is. There we go. Got it.
Okay, here's all of the documents associated with this appraisee type that I can create. And they're just thrown in there just like they were in appraise. Just all together, you have to pick which document you want to use. Okay, when I go to this teacher, here I am, I'm actually teacher 1. I have the same plus, the same default task. And when I click that plus, I have just the documents that the teacher is able to create. These are what you've been waiting for. In appraise, the teacher has documents to complete, or the principal, whoever you are, the appraisee has documents to complete. And these used to be called goals documents, and we changed them to be called reflection documents. And they were just automatically generated. So if you had a reflection document attached to an appraisee type, the appraisee would log in, and there they would be sitting right there in appraise, documents to complete. In Strive, the appraisee creates those documents themselves by clicking on the plus. And this is why you would want to organize them in steps and tasks, because it kind of shows you this document is attached to this task for whichever reason you'll be defining that. We'll show what that looks like in a minute. So if you never touch your management, then it still works. Every single person in your district is able to go in here. It says default step and default task, which is not the prettiest thing in the world, but we didn't want to assume what to call these things. So these are just your defaults, and everyone can go in and create these documents. Okay. However, I'm back to my administrator. This is what it looks like once you've gone in and managed it. And we showed this in other webinar, and we're going to show this again today. Once you've gone in and managed it, this teacher actually has an appraisee type that has their steps and tasks broken out. So I've got teacher goal setting and planning, which has one task, and you'll notice I don't have a plus there. That means that I can't do this task. I'm the appraiser. I don't make their goals for them. Okay. I have a single walkthrough step with a single walkthrough task called classroom visits. And when I click that plus, it has just the walkthrough forms associated with the type. It doesn't have any of the other forms that I can create. It's just a walkthrough task. Okay, and I got to name it classroom visits. You can name it whatever you want to. Okay, Under my end of year, the summative document that I'm able to create has a plus, and it's only the summative document associated with this appraisee type. But the reinforcement and refinement document, that's for the teacher. In fact, when I show you the teacher side of it, you'll see that the pluses change places. The teacher gets to create a goal right here in the evaluation process. That's the exact same goal interface that you'll find on the goals tab, but I can actually create it directly here. And I'll talk, Shanna and I will talk a little bit about this near the end about how that works. It's a little quirky right now, but we're going to get that ironed out. But you can create the goal either in the goals tab or in the evaluations tab, okay? And I have a reinforcement and refinement document that is just for me to create, okay? And I would get to it later in the year when it comes time for the summative, okay? The other document is our catch space, okay? So the purpose of the other documents is, you know, every now and then you might make a change to an appraisee type. You might realize at some point in the year that you're limited on your walkthrough documents. Maybe you wanted to create some more walkthrough documents, and all of these changes can be applied during the school year, and it does not hurt the person. And we'll show you how you can update instances and things like that. But one of the things that also happens every now and then is somebody's appraisee type completely changes from one to another. For example, a teacher might start the year off of T-test first year teacher because maybe they were a first year teacher last year, and they start creating their documents as a first year teacher. And then at some point in August, the principal realizes, oops, I was supposed to switch them to second year or full year. And so they switch their appraisee type, but documents have already been created, okay? What we've done is we've created this other documents bucket that will take those documents that are created when you are one appraisee type, and it will automatically just catch them here. So if a person is a teacher for the first semester and then they get that assistant principal job that they've been going for, so now they're an assistant principal, they don't lose anything they created as a teacher. Now, those might become irrelevant for evaluation, but we don't want you to actually lose those documents, so they all get caught here. Over the next several weeks, we're going to add in an ability to take these documents and reestablish them to these tasks. Right now, they get caught here and they stay there, but we're going to give you an option to take them and move them up. We wanted to make sure this thing worked at the beginning of the year, so that feature doesn't exist yet, but we do have a place to catch those documents, okay? And then my last example that I wanted to show you, I've got T-test teacher on the full. This is my teacher. And this is an example of how you can start to really get out of the box with your evaluation process and create tasks that are different from what you ever could do in appraise. This is the kind of stuff that people do outside of their evaluation system. They do it as their own form of documentation, but you can actually do these documentation steps and tasks within Strive. So in this example, I have a goal setting step, goal setting and professional learning planning. And my teacher actually creates a teacher needs assessment document. They have one required document, and it's a series of questions. This is a demo site, so it's make-believe, right? But this is a document that the teacher creates that's a series of questions to get them thinking about the goal that they're going to be creating for the year, or maybe the goals plural that they're going to be creating for the year, okay? But it's a document that we created, and we just created it as a reflection document. And when I show you the teacher side of it, you'll see that I can actually create that document right here. I click the plus, and there's my teacher needs assessment document, okay? I also have this teacher supposed to do 2 goals. In fact, they've actually got one of their goals already set. It's a submitted goal. I have not yet approved it, but they have one goal set for the year. They've got one other one, okay? In the middle of the year, by January 12th, you'll see over here on the left, we have the due date. In the middle of the year, this teacher is supposed to go back and reflect on the progress of the goals that are still in progress, okay? It's another document, and when I click it, they have a T-test self-assessment reflection form that we've created in our district. And it's a series of questions, whatever we come up with. Hey, how are you doing on your goal? What strategies have you tried? You know, what conversations have you had with your coaches and instructional leaders, that sort of thing. And then finally, we have an end of year's goals document that's the same. It's the same document, but we're going to have them create it twice. Okay. I was very vague in my example because I didn't actually create the questions for my document, but I wanted to show you kind of how there's a lot of opportunities here for you to get them really thinking about that professional learning planning throughout the entire year. Okay. We also have in our walkthrough step, we have two different walkthrough tasks, a first semester visit and a second semester visit. So this way, when the principal, let me go back to the principal, is creating one of their 3 required first semester walkthroughs, they create it with this plus, and they pick any of the forms. And when they're creating one of their second semester walkthroughs, they click this plus, and it's the exact same forms, but it goes under a different bucket. This is going to make it so that the appraiser gets to meet this requirement as it's separated out. You don't have to kind of remember, well, I'm supposed to get into this many classrooms by this date. You actually get to set those requirements within the tasks. Okay. I have a fully fleshed out observation step that has an optional pre-conference. See how it's 0 required. It's an optional pre-conference form, a mandatory 45-minute observation form. That's the rubric, you know, and then finally a mandatory post-conference form. Here's a step that I thought was cool. Let's switch back to the teacher side. One of the things you can do now with reflection documents, now that it's not the documents to complete in appraise, is you can make optional reflection documents. Okay, as we interviewed people across the state who are appraised customers, we have a lot of people who work with instructional coaches, work with department chairs, grade level chairs, various curriculum facilitators, and they have conversations with these people about the professional learning all year long. And they might even document these things some way or another. What you could potentially do, and again, none of this is mandatory, it's all completely up to the district, is you could potentially actually create tasks. And anytime I, as the teacher, meet with my instructional coach, maybe I come in here, click this little plus, I create a coaching meeting document that's been provided for me, and I say who I met with and what we talked about. What were the conclusions that we came to? What am I going to try? Okay. Every time I meet with an administrator, I do the same thing. I met with the assistant principal. They did a walkthrough on me. They told me this about my differentiation. I met with them to talk about differentiation. I came away with it with some ideas. I'm going to reflect on those in this document. Okay. We don't want this to be straight compliance. That's something we've been saying from the very beginning. This is a partnership in professional learning planning. And a partnership is not just me passively waiting for somebody to tell me how I'm doing. It's also me documenting and explaining my thought process along the way. Okay. Maybe this is not year 1 stuff for Strive. Maybe some folks are going to want to take Strive to just the basic tasks, and that's fine. It will do every single thing that you did in appraise, and it will get it done, and people will get used to it. But as you get used to it, you may discover that there's a lot of opportunities here for extra usage of these templates, and that's what we wanted you to be thinking about. Okay. All right. I kind of went on and on. I'm super excited about this. I went on and on. So let me go ahead and stop, Shanna, and say what kinds of questions are we getting and what can we talk about?
Well, we definitely had some good questions come in. And the first that noticed that what we're looking at here, you notice that the date says December 31st in all of those sections. So as Ed said, when he talked about things will be coming in the future, in the other documents, you'll be able to take those and place those within the evaluation process. So this is the same thing. We do have some things that we still need to refine, and within the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing that. Currently, if you do not have a date set in your evaluation process or your appraisee type, if you don't have a deadline or a due date, and a lot of these, the last day of the year is actually the due date. So as a workaround now, you could do that. But if you leave that date blank, it will put December 31st in the date field. As of now, you will probably, possibly even by the end of the week, you'll see this change. So that is definitely something that is on the radar and coming. But we really wanted to push and get this in your hands. We know teachers are coming back. We know teachers are starting to fill out reflection documents and creating their goals and that type of thing. So again, we did put it out with a couple of little things that we need to tweak, but so look for those coming soon.
Along those same lines, it looks like we've got one in there about already having entered goals on the goals tab.
Right.
And yes, that is also one of them. If you have teachers who have already created goals on your goals tab and you say, but wait a minute, it's not showing up here on my professional goals task, that is okay. If they've already created them, let them go with it. That's fine because it's there, it's in the system. What we're going to do is, just like Shanna was saying, there's a few refinement pieces. We're going to give them the ability to go into a goal and connect it some kind of way. It's going to be just a little drop down here, connect it to their task. Say, push this to the task, and then it will show up here in the list as well. We wanted to make sure, as Shanna said, we wanted to make sure that they were able to do their reflection documents and things like that. And so we needed to get this out. And so a couple of the little cosmetic things aren't there in this round of it, but like she said, expect them maybe by the end of this week or next week.
Well, and especially like if you haven't talked to your teachers or trained your teachers yet, they can create a goal from their evaluation process, and it shows up in both places. So if you click the plus from here, it shows up in where it's supposed to in the evaluation process, and it shows on the goals tab. So ideally, and as soon as we get that, fixed, you'll be able to do it in either place and it'll be reflected in both places. But for now, if you want them to create, you can just guide them to create it from the evaluation process. And then they'll know that they can do it both ways.
All right, so I've got one here called new goal, and there's new goal right there. And so it exists in both places. We don't have it from this one going forward, but we have it from this one going backward. And so we'll have it the other way too. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Shannon, are we ready to move to management?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that real quick, just so we can show. Hopefully you have seen that this part of the webinar, we did have a management webinar before talking about it, but Ed is actually going into Strive. Now, we do have Strive management now, so from Strive, you'll go into the appraisal settings and you'll look at your management. He is now showing an evaluation process. This was that full evaluation process that had all of those different parts, all of the different really creative and integral parts to the process. So again, you'll notice it looks very much like appraise management. And if you have created templates before, it looks very similar to when you would go in and create your templates. So basically, you're going to go in, you're going to add a step, you're going to add a task, and then within those, yep, there's the new step, there's a new task. And when you click on the task, you'll notice that you have the option to choose a task type. So we have 3 different task types. We have document, a goal, and an SLO. Now, the SLO type will react as it's not wired up yet, but as soon as we get that wired up, you'll be able to click a plus just like you do to create a professional goal and create an SLO goal.
In fact, because a lot of folks are doing very limited pilots for SLOs this year, and so teachers will be getting their SLO training near the beginning of the year, you may want to consider, if that's what's going on in your district, having a separate appraisee type just for SLO teachers. So teachers who do an SLO would have their own special T-test SLO pilot appraisee type or something like that, where they would have an SLO task for them.
Yeah.
That way, other teachers wouldn't see SLO show up as one of their requirements.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. So notice that if you do choose the task type document, as soon as you click that, all of your evaluation templates that you've created will show up underneath. You'll have to click on each section. So if you're doing a reflection task, you'll click on reflection and all your documents show there. If you're doing walkthroughs or observations, they'll all show up in that list. Once you select the forms that you want to be available, and you can select multiple forms, you can click the due date. So again, this is what I was mentioning earlier. If you do not assign it a due date and you leave it blank, it will currently show up as December 31st. if you don't want that to happen, you want it to look clean, you could go in and do the last date of school here, and then it will just show the last date of school. When we don't, like when the plan is, if you leave it blank, then on that little task, it won't show a date. It'll just be blank there. Okay. Then the next box there is whether a document is required. You can have optional items in there. If you don't require it, it'll just say 0. If you hit required, it'll automatically say 1, and you can just adjust the number and then update. Now, one thing to mention, when you do, and you can change an appraisee type, you can go in, move documents in and out, you can add a step, like let's say maybe after watching today's webinar, you decided to add a step that you want to ask, about their coaching or meeting reflections. You can add that in here. But after you add it, just make sure that you click save, and then you have the button at the top that says update existing process instances. This is just like that updating existing templates. So basically it'll go out there, and if anybody has already clicked on their process and they've seen their list, you have to update this so those reflections, or that will reflect on their view. Okay, so make sure you do that.
That button right there is going to make it so that this can be an ongoing conversation for your leadership teams throughout the beginning of the school year, and even for reflection at the end of the school year. If you decide at some point, you know what, we've got these steps and tasks right, but we're missing maybe depth, maybe we're missing options for walkthroughs, you could create those walkthroughs, attach them here, and then just say update. And then everybody who's already been evaluated throughout the school year and they're in progress would now suddenly have those documents available to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed, would you click on that basic one, the waiver, that one down there? Nope, the bottom one.
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
okay.
That one. So this is what I want to show. If you have done nothing with your evaluation process, this is what you will see. So the first thing you're going to see is you are going to see there's no framework selected. So you want to make sure with your appraisee type that you select a framework. What this does is this tells the system that, because this little part right here is actually tied to the goals when the teacher creates goals. So if you do not have a framework selected, when that teacher or principal or whoever goes in to create their goals, they will not see those associated dimensions or indicators or whatever. So you need to make sure you have a framework selected for every appraisee type. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, when you click on the default task, notice that as you search through each of the sections, every document that you originally had created for that appraisee type will be in that default task. Everything will be there in one big long list. So that's what it looked like. Now, none of them have any specifics. They don't have due dates. They don't have anything set up. And you could technically just use this, and it would give the principals the same list that you have. And you could come in, and Ed, what was your example of with your smaller district that?
So one of the things that you might want to do we were talking about things like paraprofessional, and this is a person who has maybe one form attached to them. Well, you don't need to create a whole bunch of new steps and tasks, but what you might want to do is not call it default. So maybe rename default step to be evaluation, and then maybe call default task something like end of year. And the form is already attached. I just say update. And now this is what it looks like for the person. They have words there instead of the generic default. Is that what you were talking about, Shanna?
Yes.
I might have forgotten what you meant. Okay, good.
Yeah, that was it. No, that was perfect. I mean, that's a good example. You may not have an elaborate appraisee or evaluation process for everyone, but the idea is that you could have that evaluation process. If you wanted that paraprofessional to have goals, you could even associate a goals step with that paraprofessional as well.
Absolutely. You're going to want to also consider for your TPES. A lot of folks in the past, because of the limitations of appraise, created a single reflection document that the principals went back to multiple times throughout the year in order to reflect on their goal setting. Well, now principals can do the same goals that teachers can do, right? And they can do those same goals, which means that the nature of that reflection document could change also. You could potentially break that reflection document apart, maybe make a middle of the year specific reflection document and an end of the year specific reflection document. Or maybe you have one reflection document and every time they stop to reflect, they create a new instance of that document. And so one of the things you might want to consider is just kind of breaking up the idea that a principal form, a single form is what they do, and they might have something that mirrors what they're doing with their teachers. The principal and their assistant superintendent supervisor would be going back and forth using the same type of reflection documents that the principals would be doing with their teachers. Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities here to make this a partnership in professional learning versus just what's the next thing I'm supposed to do. But it also helps you because it shows you what's the next thing I'm supposed to do.
Well, and that also leads me to, some conversation about new development. If you'll go back to the end user view, one of our things that we are, again, in coming in that refinement is the ability to flag these things. So as we do tie the due dates to them, we want to be able to have, some sort of flag or a notification or like an alert that says, hey, this due date is coming up. You need to take care of this. So look for those things to be added in. And also another disclaimer about the goals task. Right now, the completion of that, because it says 0 of 1 required, the completion of that is not reporting correctly. It's reporting on a completed goal, and the completion or the requirement for that is going to be an approved goal. So that will happen as well. That change will happen in the next couple of weeks.
Correct. Like, yeah, you'll see how I've got two goals here. One is submitted, one is unsubmitted. Once these turn to approved, this should say 2 out of 2. Currently, it'll say 0 out of 2 until they're both complete. But like Shanna said, we're fixing that. You know what I forgot to mention, Shanna? Another super exciting thing. In addition to being able to look at my old archived evaluations, which are all over here on the right, just the PDFs, like you could always access and appraise, uploading documents is over here on the right as well. So the teacher is able to go in, browse their computer by clicking this little plus and attach any documents. We're trying to reach that appraise parity where people are able to do the same things that they could do in appraise, and this was part of that. The ability to just load something in there that's supposed to live with everything else.
And if they already had existing documents that they've uploaded through their little paperclip there in appraise, they will be displayed here as an existing document.
Correct. I do not have any examples of that, so that's my bad.
It's all right.
Okay.
We forgive you.
We've got some questions. Let's see.
I think
we've addressed some.
Yeah, I think we've addressed most things. The multiple semester. I would say the multiple things for process tasks could possibly be handled in multiple tasks.
Yes, that's really how we want that. The idea that there might be different, my resolution, I'm going to shrink the resolution back down and see if, now that I don't have any pop-ups that I need to do. One of the things that I would suggest if you're thinking about having multiple due dates in your process for something is creating those due dates as separate tasks. Because remember, you can have in your setup, you can have a task associated with a document. And then here, I actually have that as an example here. I have for my coaching conversations, it's 2 different tasks, but they're using the same document called coaching meeting. Okay, so you could have a like a reflection form that they create. I actually have that also in the middle of the year, thinking about stuff, and it's just a reflection form. And then at the end of the year, now that they're done with it, they would use the same reflection form if it's sort of generic enough that it's reflecting on a goal. And then the form would have whatever information that, like, you know, time of year kind of stuff, they would be able to enter that. So I would recommend creating that as tasks. That way you only have to have the one form. We do have a not set question that's coming up here, so we'll talk about that. When I am in as an administrator and I have somebody who's not set, they've never, ever, ever been set to appraise, there's this issue that some folks were seeing where they would log in to Strive and they wouldn't be able to create goals because they weren't set. We've actually fixed that today. We found it today and fixed it today. So I'm not speaking wrong, Shanna, that was fixed already?
Yeah, I think that was fixed and pushed out. But in addition, though, the question becomes, because in appraise they had to be set before it would even show up for them. And so now whenever they log in to Strive, they will see Strive. They can go in and create a goal even if they have not been set. So right now there is no there is no foolproof way to keep them from going in and creating a goal. But when they go in and create a goal, the difference will be the standards will not be connected there if they don't have a framework connected to it.
Right. We actually want people to be able to come in and create goals, and this is not about PD in this one, but do their professional development work, whether or not their administrator has picked them for an evaluation appraisee type. We want them to be able to create goals because goals in appraise were all about, this is your goal for this year. Goals in Strive can be more. Okay, I might have a professional goal that I'm working on for my evaluation, but I might also have a 5-year goal because I just started college for my graduate degree. And so I might have a goal that's not necessarily a part of this, but I'm going to keep it in here because I want my principal to also see it and maybe provide me some coaching along the way because it's the same maybe degree plan that they had. Goals are, we're kind of toying with this idea here, but the idea that a professional goal is limited to, I have to check off a box for my evaluation. We don't want that. We want this to be sort of my workspace for planning, potentially even my workspace for trying a thing and not being successful, but being moderately successful. And now I'm going to try again another way. And so by opening up these opportunities for documentation, opportunities for reflection through different document tasks, or through uploading documents, or for requesting outside credit, things like that, we're really trying to turn Strive into that kind of safe space to improve, not just to fill out my forms in triplicate.
All right, very good. Well, it looks like we did go over a little bit. So if you want to jump in and show them how they can access the training resources.
Absolutely. So every single user, no matter who you are, no matter where your access, when you are in Strive, you have a help button right here. And it takes you directly to the Strive online help page. Now you can always back out to the full Eduphoria online help page, but for Strive specific, we have information, just kind of general information, access to all of the webinars, including the one we're doing right now, a side-by-side comparing appraise features, workshop features, and Strive features. We have a teacher section, a principal section, a manager section, and training materials. In the handout section, we've got just a straight up quick guide for teachers and for principals. We've got a video section for teachers and principals. Managers, you've got one coming soon, okay? And everything that we're talking about related to evaluation process is right here under the, where do I find it, manager section, Strive evaluation process, okay? We would also like to point out the community. The community still exists. It was there in Appraise. It's still here in Strive. And the community has the documents that were there before. And so what we'd like to do is we would like to ask you and challenge you to think about Strive in ways that are beyond just what are the documents that we need to do for evaluation, and think about documents in terms of professional learning. We've already had some great conversations with some folks all around the state about what they're going to do with their reflection documents to open up the process. And we'd like you to share them. If you've got something really cool that you're doing or that you're going to try and do with your district, we'd like for you to share that with us, share it with the community, and we might even ask you to maybe join a webinar sometime in the future and share it with our customers, because we'd really like to see what folks are doing with this and how we can make it even better and how we can kind of grow together on this.
One thing I want to mention about the community is the little green arrows in the top right-hand corner. If you have not been in and checked out the community in a while, or I would just say make it a regular practice to click that, because what that does is it refreshes and it goes out and grabs any additional documents that were added since the last time you clicked it. So that's a very important thing to remember, is to click that refresh button, and then you'll be able to go in there and see those additional documents.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, let's see if we have any more questions in here. We're about done with the evaluation process. We're super excited about this. Just to kind of recap our timeline, we've entered into a refinement period for Strive, okay? Strive has the bulk of the first chunk of features that you need to get started on the year, okay? Now we're entering into a refinement of those features. We need to refine some things related to registering for courses. We need to refine some things, just like we showed you now, about how evaluation process shows up, refine a few things about the way goals work. So we've entered into a, go ahead.
The dashboard.
Yes, the dashboard, absolutely. We need some more filters for you over here on the right to make this even more interactive. So that being said, we've entered into a refinement period, and we're going to be doing this for several weeks. We've got a priority list about stuff that's going to help you guys more up front, and then what's going to help you more as the year progresses. But we are, just like we've been doing all summer, going to be communicating the entire way. So while I can't give you specific dates for specific features, I can tell you that no question is off the table. So if you need to contact us and ask us about anything, some of y'all are really good about that, just letting us know, hey, here's a thing that's kind of bothering us. Every time we click on it, it does this thing instead of this other thing. Let us know so that we can address that during this refinement period and make the experience as positive as we can. Okay.
Ed, there was a question about some of those refinement things, and of course everything isn't listed there, but if you'll go back to the online help, there was in our online help a section where it says Strive Development Updates. Right there it has the star. We are trying to put everything in there as we release it, as we have planned, or it's in our kind of line of sight. And again, and some of the things are just kind of clumped in there. We're moving things around as we go, and we're refining, but and continued development. So just keep an eye on that. We'll continue to go in there and update items as we are rolling them out. So, and also if you are not signed up to follow our announcements, you can also do that at eduphoria.net/news. There's a place on there where you can go in and sign up for announcements, and you'll get information as we update these.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and y'all have a fantastic start to your school year, and keep communicating with us and letting us know how things are going, and have a good day.
All right. Thank you.